What is up, people? It's Dave Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Maryland rockers Clutch. The band's new album, Sunrise on Slaughter Beach, was released on September 16th via Weathermaker. That's a great name for an album as well. I love album title. Album number 13 from Clutch, which follows up the band's 2018 album Book of Bad Decisions. Actually, see, when I looked at that and I read that, I was like, well, I had a look at their back catalogue and I was like, I can't believe Earthrocker was 2013. I was honestly had in my head it was in the last 5-6 years. That album.
No. It is fucking bizarre.
Yep.
How much time has gone, like to put people into the picture, I'm like a kind of longer term Clutch fan between the two of us.
Yeah.
I think you got into them about Strange Cousins from the West, which is fuck knows how long ago that is then. That must be like 2011 or something. I should always fact check these things while I'm chatting to you. 2009.
I was thinking 2009. Yeah.
2009, right? So like, but I've been listening to for a little while. I'm not like Blast Tyrant era. I maybe. I was going to say I will have been then. I think potentially. Maybe Blast Tyrant was the first album I heard. Yeah. And the only reason I know of them, once again, like, completely show my ignorance, the only reason I know about them is that they were featured a lot on Viva La Bam, the MTV show, because like Bam Margera, his brother is a drummer in CKY, and CKY were touring buddies with Clutch. So they used to play Clutch songs all the fucking time on that show. I would always be like, I need to Shazam this because I don't have a fucking clue who this is. And I got into them pretty heavy then. Clutch are maybe, without like a word of a lie, maybe one of the consistent bands ever. Like, I genuinely think Clutch do not have a bad album, like at all. Over 13 albums. I think they have a handful of exceptional albums, but even at their worst, even at like a Clutch kind of paint by numbers run in the mill album, it's still a great album. So I think that's where they are such a they're the kind of classic rock band of this generation. You know what I mean? Like you fundamentally, you know what all the parts are. You kind of even know what you're going to get before you hit play. Like you,
I know what you mean, yeah.
And to be honest with you, like, you'll still hit play. Like, because you still want to hear it. Like, it's difficult not to smile and headbang while listening to a Clutch album. And that's, like I say, that's a quality that very fucking few bands have. That, you know, just on pure grace and goodwill, you will listen to a Clutch album when it comes out, even if you're not expecting to hear something that reinvents the musical wheel.
Yeah. Drummer Jean-Paul Gaster initially thought album 13 would be an opposite reaction to the polarization and uncertainty of the pandemic years, perhaps something more upbeat in the vein of Earthrocker. The more the songs took shape, the less I saw that kind of album. Something different took shape. The record we ended up with is in some ways the most different record we've made in a long time. It's a new chapter in the ever unfolding story, which means as much to the fans as it does to the band. Vocalist Neil Fallon likens Clutch's longevity to the story of the Three Little Pigs. You can quickly build a house with sticks, but it falls apart. It takes a lot longer to build it out of stone. I feel like that's what we've done. This has been a marathon. It took a long time to build, but it's going to be here for a long time. The album was recorded at the Magpie Cage recording studio in Baltimore, Maryland, and produced by Tom Dalgetty, who has worked with Ghost a couple of times in the past, as well as Rammstein, Opeth, Royal Blood, to name a few. So, as we mentioned, we've been converted to the Church of Clutch for a while. Seen them live, and as you say, very dependable band. You know what you're getting with Clutch. And I don't know what it is, but sometimes that can kind of dampen my excitement a little bit, like, because I'm kind of like, well, I kind of know what I'm going to get here. It's going to be a Clutch album.
Not always a first day listen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think whilst there is a good amount of songs on this album that kind of tick that classic Clutch sound box. It is also an album that hears them kind of experiment a bit with more kind of instrumentation and tone. It kicks off in classic Clutch fashion. You know, when you've got Red Alert, Boss Metal Zone, awesome song title. And that, I was listening, I was like, this could easily be like Psychic Warfare type era Clutch. Like, it's got that like kind of fuzz-driven energy, similar to like X-Ray Visions. Very feel good. It does the job, like, in getting
classic Clutch single.
Absolutely. And Clutch, then, you know, they do what they do by giving you tracks that kind of that vary between that kind of up tempo, like kind of punk rock feel, and then they've got the kind of more slowed down kind of southern groove feel as well. And that the title track, the second track, is a great follow up. Like, again, massively hooky chorus, and it's got some really cool like female backing vocals on it as well. It gives it a bit more.
Which are through this album in certain places, and I think it is
100%.
Fucking, it's like almost like gospel choir backing vocals, and it suits their music. But something like that, they went through that time period of a couple of albums where they had an organ player in the band.
Yeah.
And I don't know the ins and outs. Apparently it wasn't an acrimonious decision. It was pushed forward by the label, who they had a huge battle with to get out of their contract with, and only recently managed to release those albums from there and set up their own record label, Weathermaker. But they haven't, like, when they tour, they don't have that guy playing, and it's not on a backing track either. So it's always as if they're like, fuck it. But it fit their music much so that the gospel choir backing vocals also really fit this music.
It does, yeah. But obviously, being a kind of southern band, it just kind of fits with that whole sound. And then you hear it again, as you said, like you get it on Nosferatu, Madre, and Mercy Brown as well, more backing vocals, which is really cool. And I always enjoy the way Clutch kind of string an album together. You know, the back and forth between the tempos, and I feel like they push that even more on this release. There are some tracks that kind of steer more into a slower, more kind of ethereal kind of territory. Like Mercy Brown, for example, like there's lots of layers going on in that track. It feels quite grandiose. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if this is a bit of a coincidence that they're working with Tom Dalgetty on the album, but there was a little sprinkling of a kind of like ghost-like kind of grandeur on that track, like, which there's a little bit of keys on it, so it maybe comes a bit from that. But I was just like, oh, that's kind of interesting that guy is producing, and he's done Ghost before. But not the only kind of like surprise of the album. We've got some vibraphone from Gaster at the start of Three Golden Horns, and then they use a theremin, which is played by a guy called Jay Robbins, and it's like, if you've never heard that before, it's one of these electronic instruments that's played without touching it. So it's like you kind of wave your hand and it creates the sound and the pitch. Yeah,
if you've ever watched a 50s sci-fi movie,
exactly.
That's it. Yeah, Doctor Who. Like the Doctor Who theme song was done on a theremin. So there you go.
And I mean, it's not like an overbearing sound they have on the album. You know, it doesn't change the sound massively, but it's enough that it kind of catches your ear, and you're like, all right, okay, that's, you know, it's giving it a little bit of a different spin. You'll hear it on Skeleton on Mars, which has got a more kind of retro feel to it anyway. You know, it's quite reverb kind of laden, and that track, it gives the album a bit more of an injection of kind of atmosphere. And I'd say that's one thing about this album, is it does feel heavier in atmosphere than normal. It's a weird one. This may not be like their catchiest album they've ever done, but it feels like an album that has a lot more kind of like breathable moments in between the kind of like fuzz rock kind of grooves that you'd expect from Clutch. It's also one of the shortest Clutch albums to date.
This is a big plus for me, because the last couple of albums have, like, especially A Book of Bad Decisions, is too long an album. It loses my interest pretty quick. I kind of feel like as well they managed to take you on the same sort of musical journey as they would on a 50-minute album and a 33-minute album, and I'm like, come on guys, what are we doing here?
They're not afraid to do like an hour plus album. Like they've done it in the past. And so to hear them like fire out an album at 30 odd minutes, it's like, oh, this is a little bit different. And it's one of those albums, it's real easy to stick on again, because it's only like 30 odd minutes. But I kind of feel like they could have maybe squeezed in another track. Like, if I'm honest, I think Jackhammer Our Names is a kind of decent finish to the album, but I kind of felt like I wanted that kind of heavier Clutch anthem to kind of take it home. Like, I was like, I just feel like the album was lacking that final punch just to kind of bring it to a close. So it was maybe slightly too short for me actually for a Clutch album, but I can see the kind of appeal of, you know, the repeat listens will be really easy because of that kind of 30 odd minute runtime. I actually really like the experimentation on this album. I think it feels a little bit more kind of trippy, almost kind of psychedelic at times. But as I said, it gives you the kind of breathable moments. And there's a little bit more kind of contrast on the album. But it still feels quintessentially Clutch at the same time. Same with the production. It's nice and it's analog sounding, very organic and natural, which is exactly what you want from a Clutch album. I enjoyed this. I hadn't really paid attention to much of the singles and stuff beforehand. I was just like, I'll listen to it, you know, when it comes in, or if it doesn't, I'll listen to it when it comes out. But actually quite surprised by how much I kind of enjoyed this one. Yeah. What about yourself? What did you think?
I really liked this. I think, I mean, Clutch had me in, right? Like I've said before, I don't think they've done anything bad, and I had been paying attention to the singles, so
right. Okay.
I was kind of excited because the 3 singles that they had released up until the album coming out were all quintessential Clutch, but it was like different eras of Clutch.
Right.
And this album feels like almost a weird connection to a lot of stuff that they've done before,
right,
and kind of brought it in. So in a lot of ways, it's not. It ties up a lot of things really well. So like to me now, if you were wanting to try and get in the Clutch, I in the past would have been like that. Blast Tyrant's the album to go to, because it's the one that kind of captures the raw sound that they had up to that point, but inputs all that kind of commercialism that you're going to get from that point. And I'd actually probably go here now, like in terms of a great starting point, because you get all those elements, whether it's an Earth Rocker, Psychic Warfare, Book of Bad Decisions, and Strange Cousins from the West being that kind of later day Clutch. There's elements here that certainly hit like from that era of Blast Tyrant, from Beale Street to Oblivion, you know, that kind of era as well. And then you get the stuff that goes way back and way back machine in there as well. You get those little hints, and I think that's commendable, because they managed to pull all that together in under 35 minutes, which, like I said before, makes me smile. Clutch are one of the very few bands that I break my rule on about full album listens. Clutch are a band that I could just cherry pick songs from all different albums, and just have a Clutch day and I'd be fucking over the moon with it. And like weirdly, like listening to this album, I went through it 3 times, and by the end of the third listen, I was kind of similar to what you were saying. I was kind of at that stage where I was like that. Oh yeah, this is an album. This is an album listen. This is like front to back listen, because of the movements in place. And I think that's a testament to 1, their good songwriting, 2, their experimentation, but I think 3, and more importantly, is the attention that they've put into the pacing and placement of the songs. So this like has that, every time you get a banger, we're gonna settle down, we're gonna explore things out. Neil Fallon is one of the great lyricists of our time. I think his ability to play with words in a very interesting, at times comical way, but paint pictures is, you know, like incredible. He's got a really, really good grasp of kind of lyrical structure and kind of phraseology that I fucking love. Anytime he's speaking, he really does it, and it kind of the gospel backing vocals work for me, because Neil Fallon, even when you see him on stage, he has this kind of evangelical preacher sort of thing. It's waving the finger at the crowd, it's getting them in, it draws them in. That's his persona. So that all works to me with the kind of southern bluesy rocky stuff in the background. Of course you're going to have that, and of course it's going to work. And I'm thinking to myself, why is it taking 13 albums to bring that in? That to me feels like a no-brainer way back in the day. So those elements hit as well. I love the movements. Like it's easy to overlook other people in this band. It's very easy to overlook the guitar. I think that's at your own peril. Like Clutch have a very signature sound. It's bluesy and it's rocky. But like you mentioned before, like in this album particularly, it's got a kind of 70s kind of ethereal thing going on here. It's still got those punk chops. I've never really lost that, and I kind of love that kind of aging punk rocker sort of thing that they bring to the table is awesome. And then the drums, I fucking love clutch drumming. I think John Paul is John Paul, isn't it? Yeah, is just. I think you see him live, and he's always fucking in. He tunes everything out, and just an old school player. He just had it fits the band. That's what I mean about them being. They are a weirdly reliant band. Like you can always rely on Clutch doing something that, even at the bare minimum, is going to be something you can listen to and enjoy. Like you might not love it, but you're going to enjoy it. And I think what they've done here is actually piece together a great example of pulling all those different threads together, combining them an album, and at the same time, this far into their career, still being a little bit experimental. Those choices, particularly the theremin, works. It shouldn't work as well, but it really works on that track. I like just. On a flip side to you, I actually really enjoyed Jackhammer Our Names as a closer. I thought it kind of brought things in a nice way. And I kind of want this. I was over the moon when I saw the run length in this album. Because I wanted something that was like no frills, back to basics, just punch, clutch. And that's what you get here. The albums have sadly got longer and longer as time has went on. I don't necessarily think... Like Blast Tyrant isn't a short album, but that album has so many quirks and so many sounds and so much things going on and so much energy, you kind of lose your place in terms of track at the time. The last couple of albums, like those clutch songs, those clutch anthems, have almost kind of felt like too few and far between amongst tracks that spend a lot of time building like an image or painting a picture. So I loved how that had been stripped out. Yeah. And we have this very right to the point album. But like we mentioned, doesn't mean that you can't do all the experimentation they do. Yeah. I think this is this is the sort of album. Clutch are the sort of band you can't say welcome return to form. That form has never really gone. True. I think it's just this to me feels more focused. Kind of feels like the bands went in with a mission, and that mission is to do something short, sharp, but allow them the chance to kind of really settle into a sound that isn't the most remarkable sound in the world, but a Clutch song when you hear it. Yeah. So that's the difference. Is like I can hear bands that want to sound like Clutch. You can hear a Clutch sound when you hear it, but Clutch are in a genre which is a very recognisable genre. So it's like they've carved their own way out. They continue to do it. 13 albums in, show no signs of lethargy at all. And are just as interesting now as I think they've ever been. So to me, this is the best thing they've done in a while. I mean, this might be the best thing they've done since Earthrocker. I think Psychic Warfare is an okay album. Still isn't at their dizzying highs for me, but it's great to see them. It's great to see them back. It's great to see them doing what Clutch do, and I look forward to checking them out live somewhere down the road again. They are incredible live. They are just like flawlessly incredible live. So and if this gets them back out there, if you're a Clutch fan, we don't need to sell you on this. And if you've been wanting to try and get the Clutch for a while, this is the perfect album to get in on. Like definitely on the ground floor. You get in on this one, and interesting you mentioned that, because I had noted that there was a more kind of 70s vibe going on here, which is not always present on some of the other stuff. But then you mention that they're working with the producer of Ghost, a guy who is kind of specialised in giving that band a very authentic 70s sound. So makes you wonder if working there has given them, or if they've sought him out because of. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so maybe. Excellent though.
Nice. So ratings for the new Clutch album. I enjoyed this. I think it's maybe not their catchiest overall, but I think the experimentation they've brought to the album definitely makes it a more interesting album from Clutch than we've heard in a while. I think these tracks, although these experimental tracks worked well on this album, I think they're going to work really well live as well. I think it'll be a really nice kind of breather in between the kind of the big kind of heavier kind of faster tracks. I think it'll definitely work. I think this album needed one more banger for me. I think it was lacking that just extra last kind of blast from them, but it's a very small criticism for me. Still really enjoyed it. I'd agree with you. I think it's probably one of their better albums in the last 10 years or so. I'd probably give this a 4 out of 5. I think I'll go for this one. What about yourself?
I'm right there with you. This is a 4 for me. I think this is don't sleep on it. It's very easy to sleep on it because, like I said before, Clutch are not a first day listen. Clutch are it's going to be good. So I can listen to it. I'll listen to it when there isn't 17 albums to listen to. But don't sleep on this one. I think the reward value is very much at the forefront here. Yeah. And it's great to hear them back doing what they do. We will weirdly be 10 years from now being surprised that this album is 10 years old. Yeah. It's just you take these things for granted, so it's nuts.
Yep. Clutch Sunrise on Slaughter Beach, out September 16th on Weathermaker. Links below to the band and to the pre-order for the album. Let us know what you think. Check out some of the singles, check out the album, stick some comments in below once you've heard it. Happy to hear your thoughts on it. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.